Okay, we're on lesson number 19 on page 123. This is the first lesson in chapter 4. These lessons talk about equations and also how we graph our equations. Okay, so number 1 says, which graph models the data in the table below? And then it gives you these points and these graphs. Okay, when we have a table like this, our x values are always on the left-hand side. So these are our x values, and our y values are on the right-hand side. Okay, so if our x values are these numbers, that means these numbers need to be on our x-axis. So our number of quarts should be our x-axis. So we can automatically rule out D and A because those have gallons as our x-axis. So it's between B and C. They have our quarts on our x-axis and our gallons on our y-axis. So now all we have to do is plot these points and see which graph matches. So the first plot is 0, 0. Both of these graphs have 0, 0. Then we have 4, 1. So I'm going to go over to my 4 on the x-axis and up to my 1 on the y-axis. They have their dot there. Over to my 4, up to my 1. They did not graph this correctly. So C can't be the answer either. And if we finish graphing all of our points, 8, 2, 12, 3, and 16, 4, this graph matches exactly. So B is my answer. Okay, we're gonna come back to number 2 in a second. Number 3 says, Trish created a table to model the equation y equals 5x minus 7. What value is missing from the table? So I'm gonna rewrite my equation. Okay, they already gave us some of our x and our y values, but we're missing an x value here, and it wants to know what it is. I don't know what my x value is, but it does tell me that my y value is 8. So I can plug in 8 where I see my y. So instead of writing y equals, I'm gonna say 8 equals. And now I only have one variable in my equation, so I can solve this. So I'm going to solve this equation like normal and see what my x value is. Remember, when we're solving equations, if I wanna move something over to the other side of the equal sign, I have to do the inverse or the opposite. So instead of subtracting 7, I'm going to add 7. If I do it onto this side, I have to do it over here too. 8 plus 7 is 15. This cancels out, so I have 15 equals 5x. If I'm multiplying by 5 over here and I want to get rid of it, the opposite of multiplying is to divide. So I divide by 5 on this side, which means I also have to divide by 5 on this side. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And over here, my 5's cancel out and I'm left with x. So when I solve this equation, I get 3 equals x. So when my y value is 8, my x value is 3, so that's what's missing from the equation. So C is my answer. Number 4 says, Jeremy is making a table of values and a graph for the equation negative 25x plus y equals 50. He says that when x is 2, y is 0. Is he correct? So to figure out if he's correct, all I'm gonna do is I'm going to take what he says my x value is and I'm gonna put it where the x is. And then I'm gonna take what he says my y value is and I'm gonna put it where the y is. So I'm gonna rewrite it down here. Negative 25x, my x is 2, plus y, but my y is 0, equals 50. So all I did here was I wrote what the question gave me, but instead of writing x and y, I plugged in my x and my y values. And now I can just solve it and see if it's correct. There's no variables because we're just trying to see, does this equal 50, yes or no? So if I have negative 25 times 2, what am I gonna have? Negative 50. When you have a negative times a positive, your number stays negative. Negative 50 plus 0, what does that equal if I add nothing to it? It's gonna equal negative 50. Is that what we want it to equal? No, because this is positive 50, so he's incorrect. So it's not F or it's G. H and J both say that he's incorrect, and the answer is gonna be J because he's incorrect, since the negative 25 times 2 was negative 50, and 50 plus 50 is 100. So J is my correct answer. Now what we did here, how we plugged in our x and our y values, is what I want you to do on number 2. So it says Bernie needs to graph the equation 4x minus y equals 10. So it gives you this equation, and then it says which points are on the graph, and it gives you all these different points. On each of these, to figure out if the answer is correct, you're gonna plug in your x value and your y value and see if the answer is 10. So if I put my x is 0 and my y is -10, if you get 10, then that point's on the graph. If you don't get 10, then it's not. So you're gonna guess and check on all of these and see which one has all 3 points on the graph. So you'll have to do it 3 times for each answer choice. Okay, I'm not working this one out, so you need to do this one on your own.